entertainment, current events, and Hollywood. Don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Meosha, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creators.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Creator to Creators today. Today we have a special guest.
Abe Yellen.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I always say at the beginning is I love starting there. I think the things that we pick up when we're children or when we're so young kind of somehow follow us into our adulthood and shapes us into who we are or become. Tell me a little bit about your childhood. What was that like? And how did you find your way into for the love of music?
Yes, I was born in Sonoma County in a small town called Petaluma, which is just about 45 minutes over the Golden Gate Bridge when you're headed north out of the city of San Francisco, and just have like memories of seeing that bridge as a kid and being close to the ocean was so beautiful. And I come from a big family, and we moved when I was 6 to Colorado Springs, which is right on the Rocky Mountains, and just spent a whole lot of time outdoors. And I think just coming from having 4 siblings, my parents are always, get out of the house and go outside and have fun and make yourself useful. But I think my early exposure to music, just having memories of growing up in church, and my mom is a beautiful singer, and she played a little guitar and sang in church, and that was probably the first I'd heard melody, besides all the records my parents would play in the house or driving in the car. We had this big white Suburban, and we'd all stack in there and have just early memories of the Four Tops or the Beatles or just good old fashioned 90s Christian music rocking in there. But had an amazing childhood. I was super blessed.
I love that. That's beautiful that you had an amazing childhood. And I kind of feel the same. I grew up very much in church and all that. So it's very wholesome youth.
Very, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So what age were you when you were like, you know what, I'm gonna take this music thing seriously. I think this is my path.
I think I was about 17 or 18, and I was kind of right when everybody was figuring out. I was never great at school. I had a really great teacher, my U.S. history teacher, Mr. Lawson, and he'd always play vinyl, like when the students would come in the classes, and he'd teach in such a different and unique way. And I remember just confiding in him about, I was like, I can't imagine doing more school, like leaving school and going to do more school. And fortunately, I had an older brother who is an amazing musician, and he'd kind of put a band together out in Nashville when he was going to Belmont, and they had just gotten signed by an indie label, and they were about to do the touring rounds. And when I was looking at a couple colleges, I remember having a couple conversations with him, and he just kind of threw it out there, just say, if you want to, come travel with us and learn the road and, tune my guitars and set up the drums and all that sort of stuff, like come on. And so it just sort of afforded me, I think, an opportunity to maybe just try something. And I never knew it could turn into a job or even a career. It was totally a pipe dream, but I was really grateful for the opportunity. And so as soon as I graduated high school, I was off to the races and touring. So
That's awesome. I love that you knew so early on like what you wanted. I mean, most people spend such a long time trying to figure it out, you know?
right. Oh my gosh.
Um,
Well, I knew all the things I was terrible at, so it made it easier.
I love that. South of Italy feels very cinematic and dreamlike. What emotional space were you in when you started writing this song?
It's a good question. I always feel like when they're when you have an acoustic guitar, for some reason, maybe it's just because of all the singer songwriters I love, Neil Young or Bob Dylan, any of the greats. Like, there's something
Mhm.
about the acoustic guitar that lends itself to just being as honest as you can possibly be. Whereas sometimes I feel like, similar to maybe how actors might feel of, hearing a piece of music and trying to write from, like, maybe not your own experience or life, but a story you've heard and getting into a character of some kind. Like, I don't know. I feel like when it comes to that instrument of writing on the acoustic, it's always been that for me of like, okay, what can I bring from my own life or something I've gone through? And that specific song, of on the albums felt, like I wanted to be as personal as I could be. And I guess just sentimental. I'm definitely like a hopeless romantic. So there's
Definitely.
how many love songs do the people need? You know, it's heartbreak or falling in love or out of love.
Or out of love, right? All the fades, the facets, and different, like, gosh, love is interesting. But I
Oh,
love that you are a
word.
lover.
For sure. And the dream, I think dreaming and there's, I love old movies and grew up. My dad and I used to watch a lot of old silent movies and black and white movies, and he's a big cinephile. It's huge, loves films, and so grew up watching all kinds of films and was always just obsessed with like dream sequences or people that would, there's a great movie with Jim Carrey called Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and there's all these beautiful montages and sequences in that film that feel like you're dreaming when you're watching it. And, certain elements in there for sure, I think I was inspired by to try to almost make it feel like a dream. The first time I went to Italy, it's such a dreamy landscape, and the
Yeah.
people, the language, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. So I think I was trying to
Yeah.
invoke some of that for sure.
And you did very well. Like, and like you said, the lyrics crying in the bathroom stall about you is so raw and specific, right? It's very, like, personal. How important is vulnerability and detail in your songwriting?
Hmm, that's a good question. I feel like there's a fine balance because oftentimes, like, a melody will come and I'll be sitting on a melody for a while, and maybe it's just mumbles or a certain phrase might come to mind, and then the lyrics will start to unravel. Because I think that chorus melody was probably the first thing that came about, and then I wrote the verses after that, and tried to just tell a story the best I could. Because there's always a fine line of how specific do you really get, and how vulnerable do you want to be. But I think as a listener, I've always really related to artists that have been able to reach like a place in my soul that I connect in such a deep way. And I've admired that in other artists and related to that. And so I wanted to do it justice, especially when maybe the music's starting to take shape and you're like, I really want to say something that actually matters, that means something.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. Um, you compare heartbreak to a long scenic train ride. What did that actually, that actual train ride to, I guess, awaken? How did it awaken you creatively?
I think there's something about the longing that I had felt at that time. And I mean, it was really hard to leave. I really just wanted to stay. Once I started and I saw it was seeing the Italian countryside for the very first time and that people lived out there and like these beautiful lives. And I was just like fascinated by that landscape and the vineyards. I remember just walking out in these really open vineyards and wild grapes growing on the vines and people working out there. And something was so captivating about that scenario. And I was like, how do I bottle this up into a feeling, into a song, you know. And I think I knew I wanted to write about that. And when I was recording the album, that one just felt like, okay, I think I can sort of start to dive in on this particular song. And it's funny too, I guess that title really came about when I wrote that last in that last chorus, because it just reminded me of that when I was sitting on the train, I was alone. And um you know, sometimes there's a bit of desperation that you can feel when you're alone, but also maybe there's some comfort there too, to learn how to be alone with yourself and be content.
Yes.
It's hard to
That's
learn.
so, it is hard to learn. I'm still learning that myself, just how do you sit in it, when it's
Yeah.
really tough because I'm such a person that's like on the go. I gotta have to, like, I gotta do something. I gotta always do. Maybe to not sit in it because it is kind of
Yes.
hard to confront when it's quiet.
Oh my gosh, road trips, train rides, plane rides. I'm all about it. I'm all about it. I love nothing. I love nothing more. Maybe just because of the moving landscape. Like there's movement, but there's stillness, you know, at the same time.
Yes. Yes.
I can
Yes. I
think
love
clearly.
that.
I can just think clearer a little bit. Like when everything's still, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna lose my mind.
I love and what do you think you've healed so far from that sitting in it?
Mm. One of my therapists always used to say, he goes, how have you been sitting with your pain? You know, or
Mm,
how have you let pain be a teacher? And he knew I was an artist and was writing music at that time. And I think that it just served as like a vehicle, just like a healthy, of course, there's bad habits, you know, you can fall into. And but I think with music, it creates a vehicle for you to be able to sort of hop in and say, okay, let me try to, and maybe just to say it out loud or just to sing it, you know, feels like the most honest way I can think of to share in that. And hopefully, you know, you never know how it's going to resonate with people and their life and their story.
yeah.
um you know, I'm grateful that, you know, people have reached out and said, you know, this song means a lot to me and this is what I've been through. And it creates, you know, conversation. And I think that's what art should do, you know, just allow you to have a little space, you know, say, how does this
Yeah.
relate to me? And where can I kind of put myself in this story, you know?
I love that. I love that. Is that something that you do like for like intentionally when the slow build of the song mirrors the emotional process of grief? Was that something that was intentional in going in and structuring the song?
I think when I had a friend, Matthew, um, he did all the string work, and that was kind of the last thing on that song to be done. And as you sort of hear in the intro, he just did some beautiful textural stuff that I think really brought, you know, I liked the song before and was proud of it, but I was like, I think maybe some orchestral, that cinematic, you know, we often hear like string sections and stringed instruments in film. And
Hmm.
when those elements started to come together and he finished it, you know, it was like, and he did it all in London, and then he sent it over, and we put it on the board on the console, and we were starting to mix it. And I just was like, wow, I was so floored by what he did. And that last, you know, the stringed orchestra at the end with the horns and the string, it just really like was everything I was trying to say in the song. And I was like, that probably is the best part.
Yeah.
um but that was just magic, you know. Sometimes it's just these magical moments, you know, that are just like, oh, it didn't even, this is better than I even thought it was going to be, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's beautiful. Like it's such a beautiful song and I mean it's very emotional and I'm not that person. I try to stay away from those kind of things. I don't like to sit in it mine. But it's good. At least I can admit it, I guess.
Hey, that's the first step. I'm the same way. But art gives us that, it gives us that space, you know. I remember seeing, I was in Paris over the summer, and I saw Claude Monet's Lilies of the Pond, his series of paintings he did. And they would just move me so much, and
Nice.
who knows the place he was in when he was painting that, but art gives you that little medium where you can stand and just admire something or see beauty or hear it. And thank God we have it, thank God we have all that
Thank
to
God.
thank God we have it. Yeah, where would we be? Where would we be?
I don't
Calls
know.
us to something higher.
Exactly.
Call us higher. Let's go deeper. Uh,
Uh, I love to ask this question, and I promise you there's no wrong answer. But the three levels of influence: money, power, and respect. If you could choose only one of those things, which one would you choose and why?
I would choose respect. Of those out of those three, I think with enough of the first two, they sound unhealthy. And I think it led to ruin, in history books. But I think respect is somewhat earned, over time, and I guess whether that means by your friends, by your peers, by the people you look up to and admire. I think to earn somebody's respect, yeah, it can be meaningful. It can be meaningful. I guess I hadn't really thought about that. That's a good question.
Thank you. Great answer. Um, you know, for me, I would think, being an artist or a creator of any sort of field, whether it's music, film, all of it. I think being a creator in general is just really tough sometimes. How do you kind of, on the hardest days, and you're not inspired, what gets you out of that, I guess that funk?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, it's fickle, huh? There are some days where you don't feel very inspired. I
Yeah.
think normal life though, like just for remembering that life goes on, and not every day is you're gonna wake up and wanna paint the Sistine Chapel. I love getting outside. I think the sunshine just does a whole world of good. I'm a big fly fisherman too, so I've found that when I'm kind
Nice.
of the tank is empty creatively, if I'm out on the river fly fishing and connecting with God and just seeing natural beauty and I just it slows me down a little bit. I think if I'm in a hurried place, nothing really is ever that great.
But that's I love that's what you do when you have those moments when you're not, yeah, it's good to have something to unplug, because I think that's what I did too. Sometimes it becomes so hard to and overwhelmed, at least for me. I think being in the film world and managing it all, and having the
Mm,
best highlight reel on social media, it's like, I mean, you have to kind of keep up with everyone, and it's like sometimes it's a lot, but I love those suggestions, and for
mhm.
me it's unplugging for sure, like just turning off the social media, being in my quiet place talking to God, like you said. It's so important.
Mhm. Is that where you feel the most creative?
Yeah, I do. I think when I unplug and like not look around of what's happening, I feel like people just, because it's really hard to, there's so many people doing great films, and it's so hard it's so much out there content. And so it's like I gotta
Mhm.
just go within, and like I think for me, growing up too, it's like in the church, it's a good way to go come back to source, which is God, who is the source of all creativity in all things. So I
Mhm.
think the more we
Mhm.
go
Mhm.
within, the more creative I think we can will become, I guess.
And
So
absolutely, absolutely. I fully agree with you there. 100%.
what does the long goodbye represent emotionally and thematically as an album?
Mm. Yeah, I think it's funny. There's this old I took that title from an old 70s film actually shot in LA called The Long Goodbye. And sometimes in those old movies, like nothing really happens that's like very out of the ordinary. That just the pacing was so much slower, I found. And I kind of love that, you know. I think
Mhm.
sometimes with films in the modern era, it's just like you gotta fit so much in and plot development and you know get people like hooked from the first frame. But something I love about old movies is sometimes like not much really happens, and I think in the same way when you're like grieving a loss and particularly someone I was in love with and is not in my life anymore, and I just didn't know what to name this. I knew this album was about all about that relationship and me sort of processing it coming to an end. But when I'd seen that film and then I was listening to the songs again and really thinking about a title, it's just that it was just I don't know, it just sort of it was just poking his head out of like, of the bushes. Like it just was like, I don't know. It kind of just seemed like it was flagging like something in me that was like, you know what? Like goodbyes usually people want to get over with. Like when you go to an
Yeah.
airport and you got to like say goodbye to a loved one, you're like, I can't. This is so sad. I don't know when I'll see
Yeah.
you the next time, and you want to get it over with. Like rip the band-aid off. Okay, bye. Because like I've never met anyone that's like I love goodbyes. They're great. Um, but I think in processing loss, there is something very almost kind of tender and sweet about a long goodbye. Because it took a long time. Um, but I was grateful that the music kind of afforded me this opportunity to um, have just a cathartic, experience of trying to put words together and melodies together and music
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
companion to sort of say, you know what, I have to, slowly sort of let go and it wasn't like a magic button like right at the end of the album. It's like, okay, I feel amazing now. But I think throughout the, year and a half, 2 years that a lot of this came together. It was like a long goodbye. Um, and that title just felt so fitting.
Love that. What's one misconception people often have about heartbreak that your music tries to challenge?
Hmm. Maybe that it is quick. Like it'll go faster than you think it will. Well, I thought it would. I thought it certainly would. It depends on how in love you were. Um, I'm sure, you ask people how they get over things or how they handle heartbreak and
Yeah.
certainly teaches you a lot about yourself, just the things that your own weaknesses, the things you need to get better at as a person, as a human, and that you're flawed and imperfect. And um, I think what's interesting about some of the music I've grown to love, and I thought that heartbreak was expressed so beautifully. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's just all just messy and just like raw and sad, and there's certainly a time and place for that where it's like this is how it felt, and I'm gonna make a song that totally just embodies just some of the harsh realities of heartbreak. But then other times where there can, to have your heart broken, and then you felt something. You felt something really powerful.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and to be in love is special. It's rare. I don't think I realized how rare it was until I fell out of it. But
Mm.
um,
Hmm.
you start to cherish it. It's like, oh, you know, but there's a beauty. I think there to make something as beautiful as I possibly could, to see other artists do the same, I think lifted me up and there was my mom always used to say this phrase. She would say pain is God's megaphone. And I think she
Mm.
was paraphrasing a line of C.S. Lewis's of talking about, that's his way of reaching out to us of showing us that we're loved, inherently loved. And I think and music is certainly just a way where when you run out of words to say, you don't feel like talking about it, singing about it's helpful.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. And thank you for sharing that gift and your gift with to the world, I think that's so important, to help others kind of, hey, this is how I got over it. This is how you can too. Play this. This is how it's okay
Yeah.
to sit in it. It's cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, not without all the people that have tread the path before me. It's like a universal experience, you know.
Yeah, it is a very, very much so. That speaking of that, the people that come before us, if you could collaborate with any artist, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh, that's such a good question. There's something I'll always love so dearly about Marvin Gaye. I just
Oh
think he's so
yeah.
special, and his music just, yeah, it's touched me in such a deep way. And something about just his soul. I mean, to me, he just really embodies what soul music is just truly all about, and even just beyond. I know people have loved to sort of pigeonhole artists into genres, and with the rise of streaming and Spotify and Apple Music and playlisting, it's sort of turned the music world into, let's figure out how we put this person into this box, and categorize them. And but he was just somebody to me that no matter what he's saying, it just always felt like it came from such a place of vulnerability and honesty, and just such an amazing singer. If
Absolutely.
If I could sit with Billie Holiday and just almost just watch her record, that would have been something special. I have such a high
Definitely.
regard for her. She means a lot to me, but there's so many. That's a great question.
Thanks. Yeah, that's those are great. Those are great artists. Classic. Those are
Too,
those
too,
are
too great.
those
I
are
know we
amazing.
lost like Sly Stone this last year, and
Oh, I
Brian Wilson of the
know.
Beach Boys, and those are a couple more that just, wow,
Yeah, it's
amazing
interesting.
artists.
Yeah. What advice would you give to that young boy, that young girl that's, trying to use their gifts and talents musically? What would you give? What advice would you tell them?
Hmm. Oh, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just to keep throwing paint on the canvas to find your voice. I think everyone's unique and special, has something special to offer, and we all share experiences, but we're all very different. And I think it's probably easy to feel like, oh, there's enough music out there, there's enough artists that are better than me. And it's often said comparison can be a thief of joy.
Definitely.
But to find people that also love it and that you can have fun. I mean, it's sure, like, some of this stuff is sad. Some of it's not. I think there is also a really times of levity in the studio, times of great fun, and surrounding myself with people that are more talented than I am. I've always tried to, just be around people that inspire me and lift me up, and that making music can be so fun. Sure, I think when you start thinking about how to make a career out of it or how to earn a living and stress yourself out, but early on, never lose the childlike wonder, the childlike, just the joy of making music. I love being around my nieces and nephews and seeing how they listen to music and hear music for the first time, and there's such childlike joy about it, and it almost
Oh,
inspires me,
definitely.
never to lose
Absolutely.
that.
Definitely. Definitely. A last question. If South of Italy were a movie genre, what would it be?
Oh, a movie genre, what would it be? Hmm. Wow. Never even thought about that. How would you, how would you sort of take, like, there's a beautiful movie shot. I believe it was probably in the south of France. They might have shot some scenes in Italy, but it's a movie called To Catch a Thief with Grace Kelly
Mm,
and Cary Grant, I believe. And that was on. That was kind of playing while I was writing that song in the background.
nice.
I'll often put movies on while I'm writing, just on quiet, or silent, and have the music playing and just be looking at inspiring movies in the background. And yeah, how would you sort of, I don't even know what genre that would technically be, you know? Maybe it would
Drama?
be some independent film, probably. Yeah,
Independent.
maybe
I love.
drama, drama, yeah, drama of sorts, mystery, thriller, drama, romance,
All
romance,
wrapped in
drama.
one.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's
I
not so
love
much mystery about this one. It's pretty on the nose about what I don't think I'm shying away from what this one's about. There's other ones on the record that maybe are a lot more. Um, the one "Long Goodbye" on the album is much more. It's very jazz centered. Maybe that would be the noir the noir picture. And in
Definitely.
the old days, they called movies pictures. You know, oh, we're gonna make a picture. You know, kind of love that.
Oh,
Bring
yeah.
that back. Let's bring that
Bring that
back.
back. I like that. Bring that back. Yes, indeed. Where can people find you on social media to follow everything that you have going on?
It should just be under Abe Yellen, at least on the Instagram, and yeah, I believe TikTok is what they're saying you should all be into as well. It probably is the same under that. I believe that's the only social media I have. I got nothing worth saying on Twitter or X or whatever they call it these days. So as soon as I have something worthwhile, I'll hop on there.
Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure having you on, and thank you for your time and congratulations on this beautiful song, this piece. It's beautiful. And yeah, come back anytime.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We see you guys next time. Bye bye.